And we're back for another Gab with Abigail. If you aren't back and this is your first time on my channel, hi, welcome to Gabs with Abigail, where we talk about the Bates and Duggars and other D-list fundies. For today's video, we are doing, I think it's 5 unpopular opinions about Jill Rodrigues. And the reason why I wanted to do this video, because I know I said I was going to do the video breaking down fundamentalism, but it was just, it was on my heart that I want to say nice and positive things about Jill in this video, because I do know that I'm a part of feeding into her Christian persecution complex, and where she sees the world as very black and white in terms of her Christianity, and I feel like I'm more of a, there's gray Christian. This to me is the gray of that. All of the things that I feel like are criticisms probably about you, I do think that there are good things genuinely as a person about you, because you're a human being and it's not like you're Jim Bob. Kidding. That's what this video is. It's like so crazy. This is like 3 videos back to back of like no makeup, and it just feels kind of like an insult and an affront to Jill Rodrigues to do these videos about her without a beat face. So next video, I promise to the gods. So my first unpopular opinion is that Jill is actually a genuinely fun person and a fun mom. And I would say that especially in like comparing her to Michelle Duggar, like Jill is very more hands-on with playing with her children and being active with her children. And like, if you really think about, what was that show called? 19 Kids and Counting. I mean, yeah, obviously Michelle does stuff. Yeah, she's there with them. But doesn't it kind of feel like she's not really actively involved? It just kind of seems like she's like overseeing things, like, oh, this is an activity that we had to do for the cameras, and so I'm here, but I'm just really overseeing things. I'm not here to watch things, to watch everybody else enjoy. Ha ha ha. I haven't done my Michelle Duggar voice in a really long time. Anyway. Why am I laughing at myself about that? I really do genuinely feel like Jill is a fun, loving person who really goes and makes the effort to do fun things with her children, even if it is like, on a budget. And now, while obviously it kind of feels like they're always on vacation, I think right now, as this video is being filmed, they're on their annual family vacation. I swear to God, they're always on a vacation. I mean, to me, if it's a trip out of town, baby, it's a vacation, okay? Taking them to the campgrounds because that's free, and so they go fishing and they'll do the hikes. When they went to Vermont, they went on this nice hike. Like, I really feel like she makes the effort to make sure that she does those things with her children. And now, obviously, I know a lot of Instagram is for show, right? Instagram isn't real per se, right? It's showing you your best moments, but it's nice that there are enough of these best moments. I genuinely do think like Jill is a fun mom, and that's part of the reason why her kids love her beyond the fact that you love your mother for taking care of you, right? Most people love their mom if you're a good mom to them. But I don't know, there's just something more like playful and joyful about the way she behaves with her children. And I do also think that's part of the reason why she likes filming so much content of them, is like just very genuinely, it matters a lot to her for people to see that she makes them happy. Now, could part of that be part of her like narcissistic tendencies? Absolutely. But I think not for nothing that if the cameras weren't there, if there was no social media, that she would still be this mom. I genuinely believe that. Like she really does give that energy. Second unpopular opinion. I feel like this is going to be a really unpopular one, which is that Jill's faith and zeal for God and for Jesus is really actually admirable in the way that it seems to be unshakable, unwaverable. I am never going to be the kind of person who wants people to become atheists. I also don't think that many atheists are like that either. Depends, I guess, different strokes for different folks, because that's the world we live in. But I think, like, just from a Christian perspective, like, her faith is rock solid. And that's really, like I said, from a Christian perspective, admirable. Like just how steadfastly, how deeply, I can't say deeply without thinking about Jill and the fam, but just how deeply she believes. And I think that kind of faith in something is powerful and wonderful. And why I say that is because how I would connect that to the idea that I have, like I say it all the time, that Christians practice an aggressive, almost form of mindfulness. That's what Christianity is to some extent, and how powerful that is. That's why there's always this culture war, this culture debate from like people like Ali B. Stuckey who are saying like, oh, you're not enough. The world is trying to tell you you're enough, because there's, what is it? Affirmations and things like that, like I am enough, whatever, or I'm not enough and that's fine. Those either or, which is it's really the same message, right? And you have to have like a faith in that belief, and you have to reaffirm it constantly. And Christians take that energy and they pour it into Jesus and they pour it into God. And that it's really difficult to believe in yourself, right? So you can imagine, well, sometimes it definitely does feel like, I think to people who aren't believers, that it's a scapegoat. It's a way to pass off those problems. God works in mysterious ways, right? But also sometimes the idea of like everything is part of God's plan, the way, nothing is a coincidence. It is propelling you forward. It was supposed to happen that way. It's all kind of the same jargon of spirituality, just assigned to God. And again, but having that, to stay in that mindset of like everything happens for a reason. And so while this is really difficult, it's going to be good on the other side of this. I'm going to get through it, right? You're going through it because you're going to get through it. And so again, that's really hard sometimes to maintain that kind of energy and positive thinking, and that to have the faith in whether it be yourself or just like how things are going, that it's going to get better, that it's going to be fine, or that you're in a great place and think good things are going to keep happening to you. The fact that I really feel like Jill's faith in that is really strong and unwaverable is, I think, powerful. And does it, yes, turn into some zeal that goes a little bit different? Yes. Is it true that it can also be, this is why we kind of get the Jill Rodrigues experience? Yes. But I still think it's admirable how strong that faith and that belief is. 3, unpopular opinion. Well, this probably isn't unpopular, but nice thing that I'm going to say about Jill is that she is a very physically attractive person, thick eyeliner aside, who has, because of her, no shade to David, but because of her, she has very beautiful children, especially her daughters. Like, she doesn't have not one ugly daughter. I think I saw a post once and somebody commented, they were like, oh, I don't know why people go out of their way to say these things about her, that her kids are pretty, like they're average or something like that. And I was like, all right, hater. Her kids are really gorgeous. Like, it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So maybe if you want to debate which sister is prettier, I can understand that. But her daughters are very pretty. And she is not going to have any issues getting any of them married because they're such gorgeous kids. And shout out to her, shout out to the genes. I just think it needs to be said, Number 4, unpopular opinion. I think that Jill is more interesting and entertaining than both the Bates and the Duggars. And I feel like that's saying a lot because I do think the Bates are a genuinely funny and fun family, and they're super entertaining for sure. But Jill, and just Jill, not talking about her kids, right? Because Jill is absolutely the personality in the family, right? Going back to unpopular opinion number 1. And she is just so entertaining. And that's why we talk about her, right? These are my most watched videos, the videos that talk about her, because I don't want to say strange. She's really unique. She's really unique and does really have a special, particular charisma about her. Also, again, about this unwavering faith, she's unapologetic about being Jill Rodrigues. And that's what makes her entertaining and unique. She is so bold in a way that really her culture tells her not to be. And obviously she does it within the limits that she's supposed to, but she's just very unique and very entertaining, and just very like, why would you say that? Why would you do that? Why would you post that? And again, it's just this unapologetic sense of self. And how interesting is that? again, it's really hard to just be unapologetically yourself in the world that we live in today. And she absolutely is. Referencing the Leaving Eden podcast, which is, again, a really good resource, the episode that she did about Jill Rodrigues, because it talks about IFB, which is a little bit different than the Duggars IBLP, even though they are technically IFB, but, And so, anyways, what Sadie had said was that, she was talking about the different kind of like careers, the different roles that IFB women can do, and how it's like really the greatest honor or whatever to be a pastor's wife. It's a lot of responsibility, blah, 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 blah. And that's what Jill wants to be or wanted to be, I feel like, but just doesn't have the kind of husband who would command that kind of following and church flock to have a huge church for Jill to then be a pastor's wife too, because at the end of the day, she would be a great pastor's wife. Maybe that's another unpopular opinion, because she really is charismatic and bubbly and cheery and upbeat and just really has this huge, enormous personality. Which is why she's kind of so annoying, which is why she had a funeral for her sister's legs. You know what I mean? Having a funeral for your sister's legs. Why would you do that? Why would you think about that? Just so entertaining. And it was almost disappointing that she didn't have a television show, which I get. So, I mean, that too, maybe relating back to her faith, like deciding and being unapologetically herself that you will not censor me. If this is what I believe, this is what I want to say, if this is what we're doing, this is how we're living right now, that's what we're doing. She's just so much more entertaining. She's just so much more entertaining. There is something more authentic and genuine about Jill Rodrigues compared to like Michelle Duggar and Jim Bob Duggar. Jill isn't putting on a facade. That's why she's so entertaining, because she doesn't filter herself in the way that most people are like, actually, you don't want to say that. She's not looking for sponsorships and brand deals. She is just pursuing Jesus and nothing else, okay? And it's really, in this world right now, it's hard to stand 10 toes down on the fact that I want Jesus, I want God more than I want money, more than I want attention, more than I want to claim. And again, so like Sadie says this in the podcast about how she leads the women conferences every year, and every year they get a little bit bigger because she's good at putting on that kind of thing and she loves it. She pours a lot of herself into it. And it's just so much fun to see. I would liken it to the way Kelly Jo, does all of the like baby showers and wedding showers and gets so involved with the wedding planning. Like, she loves to do that. And Kelly Jo technically is a pastor's wife, and I'm sure she's good at that as well. But like the way Jill Rodrigues runs those women's conferences, it's a shame almost that, I think Sadie said this too, that women aren't allowed to preach, because Jill would probably be really good at it. And I guess that's really maybe a positive thing to say. Like, the women's conferences that Jill puts on, she does a great job with them. People love them. They grow each year. And that's really powerful. And, the charismatic, energetic personality she has is precisely why she does Plexus and does have a team, does have a downline, So, gotta give it to her that the girl is entertaining. Love that for her. My fifth unpopular opinion is that Jill does in fact feed her children. I do kind of hate that rhetoric, because once it was opened my eyes that, it's probably a result of poverty if they're not necessarily eating the best food. So that's why they look that way. They probably, I don't want to say are malnourished, because that's dramatic, but probably just not necessarily getting all of the vital nutrients that they need, because it's very expensive for a big family to be feeding them fresh food and things like that all the time. You're going to have to rely on canned foods and frozen foods. And I'm not talking SHIT about that, because my reality is that groceries for me as a person is expensive, as one person, in my opinion, who is full-time employed, salaried, with no children, no car note. I wish I was saying I wasn't paying rent, but I am, and I do love my apartment. So, that's neither here nor there. But groceries for just me is so expensive. So I can only imagine, for 13 kids, what that looks like. And I do eat fresh fruits and vegetables, but also I will be the first person to put a frozen bag of food, frozen meal for convenience, blah, blah, blah. It's really expensive to feed kids. So I can only imagine what it is that they have to do to make sure that everybody gets enough to eat. And like, not on some shady, I'm not trying to be shady about that or anything like that. I think that's just kind of like the reality. And that it is true that when Jill said her kids just have fast metabolisms, I do think she does have children who are naturally thin. And the reason why is because Jill is a tall woman and her husband is pretty tall. I think one of the same height maybe, or she's a little bit shorter than him. But Jill is a very tall woman. I'd probably be like, oh my God, Jill, I'm scared. Okay. Like, I'm pretty sure, I want to say Nuri is probably taller than me. You know, I have like tall person syndrome where I think I'm taller than I am. But anyway, yeah, so I do think her kids are actually probably a little bit thinner than other people just by virtue that they're taller than most people their age. They're not like an average height. And so that plays into it. But yeah, I definitely think that she feeds her kids because at the end of the day, she does really love her kids. I could say more about that, but that's not for this video. So yeah, she's definitely feeding her children. Okay, those are my 5 unpopular opinions about Jill Rodrigues because I just wanted to say something positive. And I will see you guys for the next video where we're talking about fundamentalism and Jill's war on the critics and the haters.
Let's go. It's like, you niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas